All liquor stores in Ontario, they're closed as workers at the picket lines for the first time in LCBO history.
And after travel times more than triple, the TTC announces it is making changes to bus service on Spadina. We'll tell you what they're doing to help speed up traffic. That's coming up.
And yeah, just one of the many events around town this weekend. The Beaches Jazz Festival has kicked off. We're going to tell you what else is happening around the city this weekend. That's coming up.
You're watching Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latafat. Thank you for joining us on Live at 5. Our top story tonight, another summer weekend is here, and all LCBO stores in the province, they're closed with more than 9,000 workers on strike.
Yeah, for the latest on the labor unrest, let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan, who's at front in Spadina. Melissa.
Bakari, just after 5 o'clock on a Friday right now, quitting time for many. Something that may typically include a stop at an LCBO location, pick up some drinks for the weekend. That's not going to happen today because locations like this one at Front and Spadina are closed due to a strike. Bargaining broke down last night between OPSU, the union representing some 9,000 workers, and the LCBO. Some of those workers behind me here on the picket lines right now. And I was asking them, what's their particular motivation for coming out today, for holding these placards. Here's what they told me.
It's important because we want to show support for our jobs. We want to show support for each other. Like Rael and I work together. Our other co-workers are at other locations, and then all these other co-workers of ours in other locations. It's just something that we want to do, and also for our customers. Our customers are very important to us. We build really good rapport with them. We talk to them all the time. So it's like we're going to miss that connection with them. So that's another reason why we're here.
I think some of the key concerns are, fighting against precarious work. 70% of our staff are casuals and not guaranteed any hours at all. Sometimes they work, 4-hour shifts a week, and it's hard to pay your bills on 4 hours a week.
Both the LCBO and the Ford government expressing disappointment that talks broke down, leading to this strike. And what's interesting about this labor action, we follow a lot of strikes. We hear about wages, we hear about benefits being an issue. But here, the main stress point, it seems to be job security. And that is tied in with the Ford government's decision to open up the sale of alcohol to convenience stores, to more grocery stores, to box stores, in particular, ready-made cocktails. That's something that OPSU says is putting thousands of jobs at the LCBO locations at risk. OPSU calling this an existential crisis for the LCBO. They're calling on the Ford government to backtrack on that plan, but right now the Ford government seems to be sticking with it and is planning to go ahead with the opening up of sales of those alcohol items. As for where customers can get a drink if you're looking for something this weekend, beer store locations, they're still open. The strike not affecting them. Wine rack locations, they're good as well. And Bakari and Lena, you can still purchase from the LCBO, but online only. Back to you.
All right, Melissa Duggan with the latest on this LCBO strike. Unprecedented, the first time the LCBO striking in its history. Now, in addition to Ontario residents, this strike is also impacting businesses.
Yeah, as well as restaurants. So here's a little of what we heard about that.
At the end of the day, the hospitality sector has been devastated over the past few years because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the repercussions from that. And so right now we're dealing with a lot of inflationary pressures across the sector related to, and this is impacting their operations, which includes food, wages, repairs, utilities, everything is going up. And so with the strike coming up, we don't really need another obstacle for the sector right now. I mean, we're trying to recover from the pandemic.
We spent the last week and a half stocking up for it, so there's a lot of money tied up in inventory right now, which, I don't really like having that much inventory in hand. I'd rather have the money in the bank just in case an unexpected expense comes up, but just hope it doesn't last too long.
We're stocked, so I think we're going to be okay, and I don't think the strike will last that long.
And if it did, how would it affect business around here?
I mean, I don't like the bad things out there, bad energy, but I think it would be bad, obviously. And for a lot of restaurants, a lot of places, but with us, I think it would affect us a lot.
All right, it's 5:05. Feeling like 29 outside. Things are heating up. How about on the roads? The only person who can answer that is CP24's traffic specialist, Heather Seaman. Hey, Heather.
Hi there, Bakari and Lena. Well, it's busy out there, as you would expect for this time of day. A lot of volume, but we have some improvements. Not here on the 410, though. We're still seeing a lot of volume from north of the 407 to Queen Street. We had a crash clear at Queen Street, but still some heavy delays through there. 403 at Eglinton, westbound express at Eglinton. We still have that right lane blocked. Seems like they're doing some work there, but not affecting traffic flow. Some good news here, the 427 southbound at the 401, we had a long-standing issue that was blocking a lane. That cleared moments ago, so traffic is back up to speed. A crash 401 eastbound at Brock Road in Pickering. That is gone as well. Let me see. We have some issues here. Southbound 404, a lot of volume, again, from about Finch to south of the 401. Just spotted this issue here. Let's see if we can bring up the camera. Just developing here. It's northbound on the Don Valley Parkway. Let me bring up this camera. I will mention it. Northbound Don Valley Parkway at Eglinton. We have a stalled vehicle. It was blocking the left lane and left shoulder, so that is adding to delays on the northbound DVP. It's busy from about Millwood to north of Lawrence, and the westbound Gardner, that is jamming up from Jarvis to west of Bathurst. Not aware of any issues along the Gardner in terms of crashes, just volume right now. And off the major routes, we still have Bloor Street closed from about Islington to Montgomery Road, and that is for a fire investigation. That's it. Back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Thanks, Heather. A 14-year-old boy has been charged with first-degree murder in a fatal shooting in North York last month.
Yeah, police were called to the Jane and Falstaff area June 24th, just before midnight. They say that 4 suspects got out of a light-colored SUV and started shooting. The suspects then got back in and drove away. 20-year-old A.J. Simpson was found with gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead in hospital. And right now, we're joined live by CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan, for a closer look at this case. Steve, this is one of the many cases that you've been following. You've been on the scene right afterwards. And it also involves a 14-year-old, a young teenager.
Yeah, and that young teenager is charged with the most serious crime on our books, which is first-degree murder. What distinguishes first-degree murder from second-degree murder is planning and deliberation. So clearly the police have evidence to cause them to believe that this murder was intentional and that those 4 suspects, 3 remain outstanding, went to that Falstaff address to intentionally shoot and kill that 20-year-old man.
And this boy that's alleged to have been involved in this wasn't working alone, according to police. What would the investigation look like now that police are still looking for the 3 other suspects?
Well, the fact that they made an arrest as quickly as they did, it's just 2 weeks before that shooting happened, and they have a 14-year-old now in custody. They could speak to that 14-year-old with his counsel or parent and get information as to who the other 3 suspects are. Common sense would suggest that the 14-year-old, it wasn't his idea to drive to that location to shoot a 20-year-old. Common sense would suggest that there are other people, more likely older than him, that were the ones that orchestrated this.
Okay, Steve, along those lines, this is something that we've been talking about. A lot of people would want to say it's easy to point the finger, but you say that's not the case in your experience.
Well, you have to look at the underlying causes, the root causes, and this happens far too often where we've got 14-year-old kids who have their whole life ahead of them, yet they're prepared to take that chance and shoot and intentionally kill somebody. There's been a lot of talk over the years, sadly many years, as to getting to the root causes of why these kids are prepared to do that. And nothing seems to have been accomplished. And we cannot expect the police to arrest our ways out of this dilemma. There's more going on in those communities than just disobeying the law.
All right, Steve Ryan, live in studio for us tonight. Thank you, Steve.
Sure.
And a man's been arrested in a fatal stabbing at a West End subway station last month. So police say an argument involving 2 men led to a fight and the stabbing at Jane Station June 25th. 39-year-old Matthew Rumble was rushed to hospital, but later died. 22-year-old Tefai Silva Opoku Boadu of Kitchener has been charged with second-degree murder. 19-year-old Mackenzie Hargrave is facing a charge of accessory after the fact. And a 14-year-old is facing charges after a crash on the 401 in Mississauga. This resulted in the vehicle catching fire. The collision happened early this morning in the eastbound lanes near Mississauga Road. The police say that a car driven by a teenager rear-ended another vehicle before going off the road and catching fire. John Tzinis was driving the van that was hit from behind.
Something hit me from behind in the rear driver's side, and it just spun me around. At one point, the driver's side tire and the rear driver's side tire came up off the ground, so it almost just about went rolling. Luckily, it somehow came down, spun around, and I smashed into the guardrails. So it's pretty lucky, to be honest with you. I could have got clipped by another truck behind me, tractor trailer.
And OPP tweeted these photos of the car and the van that was hit. They say the teen driver had taken the car to get food. The boy and a passenger were arrested after trying to flee on foot. Both suffered minor injuries. The one teen is charged with careless driving, driving without a license, and failing to remain at the scene.
And the TTC is making changes to the bus replacement service on Spadina. This is in an attempt to try to reduce travel time for riders, which has more than tripled.
Let's bring in CP24's Lindsay Biscaya for all the details. Is this actually going to bring some relief to downtown drivers, Lindsay?
Well, we'll have to wait and see, Lena and Bakari. This starts on Monday, so we'll see how much of a relief it brings. We're talking about that section of Spadina when you're heading south, trying to get onto the Gardiner. A lot of you watching right now probably know what I'm talking about because it's been pretty backed up, especially considering there's construction on the Gardiner, and now those streetcars are not running on Spadina. They've been taken off the tracks for the remainder of this year for maintenance. So buses have been running for the last 2 weeks up and down Spadina in place of those streetcars, but they are adding to the hassle, I guess. The TTC says in the last 2 weeks, it has found that this has tripled commuters' times on the roads. It used to take 20-25 minutes on that Spadina streetcar. Now it takes usually over an hour during rush hour traffic. So starting Monday, and this will be on weekdays between 3 and 7 p.m. The TTC says those buses heading south on Spadina will turn left onto Front Street instead, and then loop around on Blue Jays Way, and then go back north up Spadina towards Spadina Station. So anyone that needs to head further south down Spadina, they can get off before that bus turns left on Front Street and make their way on foot instead if they need to get down to Queens Quay, for example. So we heard from TTC spokesperson Stuart Green today about these changes, what to expect. Here's more from him.
What we're going to do, though, very importantly, what we're going to do is anyone who has an accessibility issue, perhaps somebody who's carrying a large package or shopping bags, a stroller, anyone who needs an accommodation, if they absolutely cannot make their own way down along Spadina, we will put a bus through to get them down there. So we will put transit down Spadina south of Front Street on an as-needed basis. We're going to have staff all over the place down there. We're going to have staff at Front, at King, Queens Quay, Bremner, Blue Jay Way. You'll see staff, either TTC supervisors or the Red Customer Service agents in the Red Pennies. They'll be out there to help anybody who needs it in those hours.
And Green says this is the first of some changes that will be happening. Bakar and Lena, they're going to look and see how this goes and then adjust things as need be. So once again, that starts on Monday between 3 and 7 p.m. The bus will no longer be going south on Spadina past Front Street. Back to you.
Yeah, it's a brutal drive. Hope this helps. Lindsay Biscaya live in studio tonight. Thank you, Lindsay. It is 5:13, 25 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Yeah, the Beaches Jazz Festival. It is happening right now. We're going to go there live next and take a look at some of the other events taking place this weekend.
Welcome back. Today is the first day of Summerlicious.
And you know I'm always hungry, so this works out. More than 200 restaurants in the city are participating this year. They're offering special 3-course fixed-price menus. Lunch ranges from $20 to $55, while the price for dinner is set between $25 and $75. The Summerlicious continues until July 21st.
You know what's funny about that? I was going to ask you if you were hungry, but I already knew the answer to that. The answer is always in Bakari's world. Well, Toronto's biggest celebration of Arab culture, art, and food, that kicks off tonight. The Taste of the Middle East will return to Nathan Phillips Square at 6 p.m. The festival runs through Sunday night. It will feature more than 60 local artists and over 100 vendors. Organizers are expecting more than 90,000 people to attend the event throughout the weekend.
It all started because we don't have a large Arabic festival that represents us in the heart of the city. We always had like smaller festivals here and there. So I was like, why not? We want to be like Taste of Danvers, Salsa on St. Clair. So it all started at Yonge and Dundas Square. I was very nervous when it all started, but now it's 7 years. I have an amazing team. We're at Nathan Phillips Square. It's just growing and we love it.
Being an Arab ourselves, right? So it's a great cause. Just to, we're proud of our heritage, we're proud of our community, we're proud of bringing everybody together. And this is a great way to bring everybody together, celebrate our food, our music, great talent, great art, everything.
And then there's this, Canada's largest Latin-themed street party. It takes over a section of St. Clair Avenue this weekend, the TD Salsa in Toronto Festival. It's celebrating 20 years. It features a fiesta parade showcasing performances from more than a dozen countries and a political salsa showdown. It's on St. Clair between Winona and Christie tomorrow and Sunday.
20 years, as you said, it is a huge milestone, and so we're so excited for people to really see just how big Latin culture can get. We have the king of samba that's going to be performing. We have merengue, cumbia, bachata, and at the end of the day, we celebrate what Latin culture is really about, which is bringing people together through the love of dance.
And an East End tradition kicks off this weekend. It is the annual Beaches Jazz Festival, which will be running the next few weekends. Always a good time there.
Yeah, we're trying to convince our producer that it's a good time, that we should go as a team building, but that's
we'll see if that works by the end of the show. Let's see if CP24 Sija Lu can convince our producer Jyoti. She joins us live from Jimmy Simpson Park, where the sounds of Leslieville and Riverside is being heard. Hey there, Sija, what's going on?
Hey there, you're right. This is a perfect team building event. Lots of families out there, tons of seating, and the best thing of all, it is absolutely free to attend. This event has been going on for 36 years. It started with a one-day event. Now it is a week-long event, kicking off tonight here at the park with the sounds of Leslieville and Riverside. And we have some guests here joining us, some jazz fans. We're going to talk to Chris and Henry. And Chris, you are a jazz fan. What do you love about this festival the most?
I suppose we like that it's in the neighborhood. It's accessible. You can come and have a seat for the afternoon and enjoy. It's great. Yeah.
How many times have you gone to this festival?
I think as long as we've been in the neighborhood, we've come by, last several years anyway.
Do you have any advice for people who are coming down the first time, maybe how to take it all in?
You bring a good chair, bring an umbrella. Those are and maybe a good blanket. Yeah.
Who do we have here, Henry? Is he a jazz fan too?
He is a jazz fan, I'd say so. What do you think, baby? We're in the middle of a croissant. Yeah, snack time.
And is there anything you're looking forward to the most this year?
I don't know. Nothing in particular, I don't think. But we'll probably come tomorrow for the afternoon and see what's coming through. What's nice is there's such a diversity of musicians that play. And it's nice to see so many acts coming through, especially up-and-coming acts. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Chris. I hope you enjoyed the festival. And like he mentioned, there is a lot of diversity when it comes to the artists. You have individual artists, bands like the one that was just playing on stage. They'll be back here around 5:30 tonight to kick things off for the rest of the evening. But this isn't just a one-weekend festival. This is a month-long event. So it starts this weekend here at the park, and then it moves over to Woodbine Beach for the next 3 weekends. It also takes over Queen Street. Later in the month, Queen Street gets completely shut down. So if you are a jazz fan, the Beaches will be the place to be over the next month. Back to you guys.
Well, CJ, is it too much to ask you to just save us a seat tonight? Save us a table?
Think you can do that for the CP24 team, CJ?
Absolutely, I'll save you a seat. It's starting to rain a bit, but I will. If I have to fight someone for some seats, I got you.
You make sure you save a seat for our producer, Jyoti. She can't wait.
Thanks. Well, it's 5:20, 26 degrees, feeling like 29 outside. This is Live at 5. How much is the rise in car theft influencing vehicle buying decisions? We're going to take a look at the results of a new survey.
Welcome back. A new survey is highlighting how much concerns about auto theft influence Canadians when it comes to buying a vehicle. 40% of those polled by Nanos Research say it's an important factor to know if the vehicle they're looking at purchasing is more likely to be targeted by thieves. It's really something you have to consider these days. 34% say it's not a factor for them. Ontario and Quebec residents were more likely to say that it is important to know if the vehicle they're thinking of buying is prone to theft than those in Atlantic Canada or British Columbia.
Well, the country's unemployment rate, it rose to its highest level in more than 2 years last month. Statistics Canada says that the economy lost 1,400 jobs in June. And that saw unemployment climb to 6.4%, up from 6.2% in May. It's the highest reading for the unemployment rate since January of 2022. And the overall decline in the number of jobs, it came as 1,900 part-time positions were added, but 3,400 full-time roles were shed.
Well, the president of the University of Toronto is weighing in on the departure of a pro-Palestinian encampment from campus after a judge granted the school an injunction calling for its removal.
Our legal case sought to ensure the full recognition of our fundamental values of academic freedom, freedom of expression and assembly, peaceful protest, and due process for all members of the university community.
Merrick Gertler said he is under no illusions about how difficult it will be for the university community to recover from the tensions that came to a head over the encampment, which formed in early May, calling for U of T to divest from all ties with Israel. Demonstrators left before a 6 p.m. deadline Wednesday, saying they did not want to risk a police operation to remove them.
Well, Montreal police have cleared out a pro-Palestinian encampment in the city's financial district. Officers in riot gear moved in on the encampment in Victoria Square around 4 o'clock in the morning. City workers used tools to cut down metal shielding and tarps around the protesters' tents. And police say that there were no arrests or injuries. The encampment was set up last month. A pro-Palestinian encampment set up in April. It remains in place on the McGill University campus.
It's 5:25, 26 degrees out there. You're watching Live at 5.
Yeah, Canada's going to play an unbeaten Venezuela in their Copa quarterfinal. It's happening tonight. We're going to preview the match coming up. Canada's going to fight for a spot in the Copa America semifinals when it faces Venezuela this evening.
In their first Copa America appearance, Canada scored only one goal in the group stage. The Canadian squad will face Venezuela without winger Tejan Buchanan, who suffered a broken tibia during Tuesday's practice. Meanwhile, Venezuela won all three of their Group B matches. TSN's Matthew Shinetti, he is in Dallas tonight, and he says this game has significant implications for both Canada and Venezuela.
When we were at the pregame availability yesterday, the media, certainly from Venezuela, was feeling quite confident. I was actually on Venezuelan television last night, and they were talking about Venezuela being favorites. For Canada, this is a significant moment. Jesse Marsh comes in about a month ago. Early struggles, perhaps, in that game in Rotterdam against the Netherlands, which they lose 4-0. But since then, they draw in France, in Bordeaux, against the team now in the knockout round of the Euro. And we've seen them grow from strength to strength.
And Canada's match with Venezuela gets underway at 9 o'clock tonight.
And we'll have all the highlights right here. It is 5:28, 26 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Yeah, it's going to be a dry weekend unless you stocked up ahead of time. But is it going to be a dry summer? The first strike in LCBO history is underway, and there are options. The latest next. All liquor stores in Ontario, they're closed as workers hit the picket lines for the first time in LCBO history.
After travel times more than tripled, the TTC announces it is making changes to bus service on Spadina. We'll tell you what they're doing to help speed up traffic in a brutal part of town. That's coming up tonight.
And the Beaches Jazz Festival, it is officially underway. We're going to tell you what else is happening in the city this weekend. That's coming up.
You're watching Live at 5. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
And I'm Bakari Savage. Another summer weekend, it's here. And all LCBO stores in Ontario, they're closed with more than 9,000 workers on strike.
For the latest on the labor unrest, let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan at Fort and Spadina. Melissa.
Hey, yeah, we're standing outside of an LCBO location here for the first day of the first ever LCBO worker strike of its kind. And people might already be wondering, how long is this going to stick around for? Well, what we know right now is that talks have broken down, so no progress to report there. And the LCBO already has a plan for this strike if it lasts for 2 weeks. All locations across the province will remain closed. After that time, some locations, 32, will be opening Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, but only for a few hours at a time. So really, there is a long-term plan here if we don't see a deal reached between OPSU, that's the union representing some 9,000 LCBO workers, and the LCBO. So at the moment, we've been talking to people who are on the picket lines today, asking them what they're fighting for. What do they want out of this bargaining process? Here's what they're telling us.
I don't have any job security. I feel like Doug Ford is just trying to privatize the LCBO, which is silly because all the money goes towards the government and the, education and hospitals. And I don't think that his all the laws or any other corporation needs that money as much as the government does.
I've worked for the board for 11 years. I have worked at 5 different stores in 2 different districts. Did a little bit of work down here, was moved out to Etobicoke, came back into the city. Especially in our district here, we get moved around without a lot of notice. It took me almost 10 years to make full time. Actually, a little over 10 years now that I think about it, and included doing some seasonal, which we call fixed term, but that's seasonal work, no guarantee of being hired on, and then was kept as a casual, as we call it, which is basically unsecured part-time work.
There is a very specific demand coming from the union, by the way, asking for the Ford government to reverse its decision to expand the sale of coolers, ready-made cocktails to grocery stores and convenience stores. But right now, it sounds like the provincial government isn't going to budge on that. It's going to push ahead with opening up the sales of alcohol to more locations. Now, we talked about how the LCBO is prepared for this strike to go on. Also, the union as well. The union's president is saying they have a healthy strike fund and they are prepared to weather this strike as long as it takes. Back to you guys.
All right, CP24's Melissa Duggan from Front and Spadina. Thanks a lot. And we can see the traffic there. Let's get a check on all the roads around the GTA with traffic specialist Heather Seaman. Good evening, Heather.
Good evening, Bakari and Lena. Well, it's busy out there, as you would expect for a Friday evening. A lot of volume. It's busy on the 410 from north of the 407 to Queen Street. A much earlier crash at Queen. That's cleared, but the delays continue. And we still have a lane blocked here on the 403 westbound express at Eglinton. Just a visual distraction right now. Looks like they're doing some work in that area. The 401 westbound collectors at Bayview, we have a stalled vehicle. It's blocking the center lane. Actually, it looks like they're blocking the right lane as well right now. You can see a police cruiser, MTO on scene. Hopefully they'll have that tractor trailer cleared, but it is causing a bit of a backup in the collectors. And we have a crash here, the 401 westbound at Brock Street in Whitby. That is causing quite a backup there. Off the major routes, we still have that fire investigation in the Bloor and Islington area. That's it. Back to you.
Heather, thanks so much. And speaking of traffic, the TTC making changes to the bus replacement service on Spadina. This is in an attempt to reduce travel time for riders, which have more than tripled.
Yeah, for more on this, let's go to CP24's Lindsay Biscaya. It tripled time, Lindsay? Really?
Yeah, exactly. So just in the last 2 weeks, really, when the streetcars were taken off that route for maintenance and the buses were put in instead, the TTC says that it has, as you both said, more than tripled, actually. It used to be 20-25 minutes for a commuter to get up and down Spadina. Now it takes over an hour for someone who is using those buses. So this is all an attempt to try to alleviate that congestion. It'll probably help for cars on the road as well. We're talking about that stretch heading south on Spadina toward the Gardiner. You probably all know what I'm talking about. Gets pretty backed up just about any time of day, but especially during rush hour. So these changes are going to start on Monday from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday. Those buses that are heading south on Spadina will stop at Front Street, turn left onto Front Street, loop around on Blue Jays Way, and then head back north on Spadina, back towards Spadina Station. So it's just trying to really avoid that stretch of Spadina that gets really bogged down by traffic trying to get onto the Gardiner, because of course that construction on the Gardiner continues as well, making things very slow for commuters. So we did hear from TTC spokesperson Stuart Green today, who talked about the changes and talks about, accessibility as well. And those who have accessibility issues will have help from TTC workers. But here's more from Stuart Green.
We're going to turn buses left onto Front Street, and we're going to have city traffic wardens there helping make that turn. And then they'll turn it around down Blue Jays Way and loop back up Spadina going northbound. And that hopefully will relieve some of that congestion that we're seeing, because we don't want to keep putting buses down into that most congested area, knowing full well they're going to get trapped in there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes sometimes, leaving people that are traveling north on Spadina stranded without any service. So this is our attempt to get that service moving. As I say, it's not the only thing that we're doing, but it's the first thing that we're going to do start Monday.
And for those people who want to get off the streetcar before it turns left on Front, you will have the option to do so you can head down on foot south on Spadina if you need to get to Queens Quay or something. So again, those changes starting on Monday. Lena, Bakari.
All right, Lindsay, thanks so much. And staying with transit news, there are some subway closures and service adjustments to tell you about on the TTC this weekend.
Yeah, there will be no subway service tomorrow and Sunday between St. Clair and Shepherd Young stations on Line 1 due to scheduled track work. Shuttle buses will run. There's also reduced speed zones on both Lines 1 and 2, which may result in longer travel times. There are also adjustments to routes due to the Taste of Lawrence Festival and Salsa on St. Clair. And there's no GO train service on the Barrie line this weekend. Crews are going to be doing construction along the corridor. Buses will run between Barrie and the Highway 407 bus terminal. There's going to be no service at either Downsview or Union Station. Some morning and evening train schedules will be adjusted on the Barrie line to and from Union on Monday and Tuesday before regular service starts again. That'll be Wednesday.
5:38, 26 degrees. This is Live at 5. Coming up, a 14-year-old boy charged with first-degree murder in the death of a 20-year-old man who was shot at by 4 suspects. We'll tell you more about this disturbing investigation next.
Well, a 14-year-old boy has been charged with first-degree murder in a fatal shooting in North York last month. And police were called to the Jane and Falstaff area, June 24th, just before midnight. They say 4 suspects exited a light-colored SUV, and they started shooting. The suspects then got back into the vehicle, drove away. 20-year-old A.J. Simpson was found with gunshot wounds and pronounced dead in hospital.
And for more on this investigation, we're joined live now by our crime analyst, Steve Ryan, who's been looking at the story all day. Steve, this is the second teenager in our city to be charged with a really serious crime in less than 2 weeks. How disturbing is that to you?
Well, I think it speaks to a greater problem within a lot of our communities, and that is root causes. And what is encouraging these young people to commit these heinous crimes and not have any concern about the consequences. It's a really disturbing trend that we are seeing in the city.
Hey, Steve, you mentioned something, as a detective, what is it like working on these cases where both the victims and suspects are so young?
Well, it's heartbreaking. Not only is doing a death notification one of the hardest things for a detective to do, but also dealing with an accused family as well. I can recall many occasions where you go to a young person's address to advise mom or dad that their kid is now in custody, and moms would drop to their knees in tears. So neither side wins in a situation like this, and oftentimes parents have zero to do with what their kids are doing on the outside of the house.
Right. So, Steve, when it comes to this investigation, police now have 1 person in custody. This is a really young person, 14-year-old. They're still looking for 3 other suspects. The hope is that this 14-year-old will talk.
Well, that's always the hope, and what better witness than one of the 4 people that was in that getaway car. So the fact that this young person is 14 years old, if anybody's got wiggle room within our criminal justice system, it would be a 14-year-old. So it would probably be in his best interest through counsel to cooperate with the police and give them the information that they need.
How delicate do detectives have to handle that questioning of a 14-year-old?
That's a great question, and I'd say very delicate. You can not treat a kid like you can an adult when they're in custody. And that's for obvious reasons. The judicial system protects children from false confessions and from the police pressuring somebody into talking. So you have to treat kids very, very gently, and you have to make sure that they have all their rights and that they have an adult or a parent present with them anytime you have contact with them, it's very, very important in our
Steve,
system.
really quickly, a young person lost his life, 20-year-old man.
Yeah.
You believe this might have been gang-related?
I do, and I say that because they charged this 14-year-old with first-degree murder, which means that there's evidence that this was planned and deliberate. And odds are that a 14-year-old wasn't the person that had the first idea, the initial idea to commit this crime. Most likely this 14-year-old was following the steps of somebody older.
All right, Steve Ryan, thanks so much for this. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Well, a man's been arrested in a fatal stabbing at a West End subway station last month, and police say that an argument involving two men led to a fight and the stabbing at Jane Station. This was June 25th. 39-year-old Matthew Rumble was rushed to hospital but later died. 22-year-old Tafai Silva Opoku Boadu of Kitchener has been charged with second-degree murder. 19-year-old Mackenzie Hargrave is facing a charge of accessory after the fact. And a 14-year-old is facing charges after a crash on the 401 in Mississauga. This resulted in the vehicle catching fire. The collision happened early this morning in the eastbound lanes near Mississauga Road. Take a look at it right there. And police say that a car driven by a teenager rear-ended another vehicle before going off the road and then catching fire. So John Tizanis was driving the van that was hit from behind.
Could see smoke going up in the air, and then you heard a big explosion. And at that point is when the OPP arrived. I guess they jumped out of the car and started running up the highway, but they were caught by OPP. And I wish that kid no harm, right? Like is there bitterness in me? No. But I just wish sometimes like you use your head before you act like that.
OPP tweeted these photos of the car and the van that was hit. They say the teen driver had taken the car out to get some food. The boy and a passenger were arrested after trying to flee on foot. Both suffered minor injuries. One teen charged with careless driving, driving without a license, and failing to remain. That investigation, of course, continues tonight.
Right now it's 5:45, 26 degrees, feeling like 29 outside. This is Live at 5.
Joe Biden says he is not going anywhere. He says he's staying in the race. He held a rally this afternoon ahead of sitting down for an exclusive interview with ABC. Stay with us on what happened. Welcome back. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has appointed a special advisor following a rise in anti-Semitic incidents across the country. Liberal MP Anthony Housefather will take on the new role of special advisor of Jewish community relations and anti-Semitism. The Prime Minister's office says Housefather will work with Jewish communities and help advance actions throughout the federal government to combat anti-Semitism. According to a report from Jewish human rights organization B'nai B'rith, anti-Semitic incidents more than doubled last year when compared with 2022.
Well, former Foreign Affairs Minister Marc Garneau is taking some shots at Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in his new autobiography. So Garneau says that Canada's standing in the world, it's diminished under Trudeau's leadership. He's accusing the Prime Minister of harming the country's reputation abroad during trips to China and India. Garneau claims that Trudeau rarely sought advice from him when he was a minister and that all communication with the Prime Minister had to go through his staff. Garneau spent 5 years in Trudeau's cabinet. He left politics last year. In his book, well, that's due out this fall.
Well, voters in the UK have ousted the Conservatives from office after more than a decade in power. Labour leader Keir Starmer's party won the general election in a landslide. It was a resounding victory. He and his wife met with supporters outside the Prime Minister's official residence on Downing Street after accepting the King's invitation to form government. Starmer becomes Prime Minister with a healthy majority in the House of Commons. Labour has secured more than 400 seats in Britain's 650-seat parliament.
Well, U.S. President Joe Biden held a campaign rally in Wisconsin today. This amid growing calls, which continue, for him to step aside due to his age. So Biden's comments come on the heels of his disastrous TV debate performance. The 81-year-old addressed his age, saying that he's staying in the race and plans on beating former President Donald Trump.
Folks, let's focus on what really matters. We're running against the biggest liar and the biggest threat, no, really, the biggest liar and biggest threat to our democracy in American history. That's not hyperbole. Over 150 presidential historians voted him the worst president in American history. No, the worst. As I've said before, he has the morals of an alley cat. He lies about the economy he created. The truth He's one of only 2 American presidents who left office with fewer jobs than when he came into office.
And Biden will sit down for an exclusive interview tonight. All eyes on this. He'll be sitting down with ABC's George Stephanopoulos, and that interview will air as a primetime special at 8 p.m. Really has to be a slam dunk for the U.S. president tonight.
Yeah. Well, right now it's 5:51, 26 degrees. This is Live at 5. For something a little bit lighter, the Beaches Jazz Festival is happening right now. We're going to go there live next and take a look at some of the other events taking place around town this weekend.
An East End tradition kicks off this weekend. It's the annual Beaches Jazz Fest, which will be running the next few weekends.
Yeah, CP24, CJ Liu joins us live from Jamie Simpson Park. This is where the sounds of Leslieville and Riverside is being held. CJ.
Well, this band has been playing for the last half an hour, and they are absolutely amazing. And you guys told me to save you some seats, so I did. Not so bad. Second row from the front. I even put your name on it. It says VIP Lena. This seat is ready for you. And best of all, these seats are free. This festival is free for anybody to attend. It is a month-long festival, but it started back 36 years ago as a one-day festival. But fans, jazz fans, people in the community have really just enjoyed it because it's not just jazz music. It's not just bands. There are dance lessons, food vendors, a whole bunch of things for the whole family to enjoy, and it's free to attend. The festival starts off tonight with the sounds of Riverside and Leslieville. That's going this weekend. And the next weekend, the party will move to Woodbine Park, where there is a salsa dancing and a street festival on Queen Street later on in the month. We'll let you hear from some of the organizers who have been a part of this festival for 3 decades on why it's so special.
It's a vacation in the musical roller coaster where everyone has such a great feeling and fellowship to come here, meet their friends, and through the language of music, it brings everyone together, businesses, residents, government partners, to celebrate the great city of Toronto and the music it has to offer.
We've got a real mix of young people that have just graduated from colleges and universities in music programs, and we've got seasoned veterans as well. We've got a wide range of musicians that come up and play every year, and it's just fantastic music.
And this party is happening rain or shine. This band here will take a break in about 30 minutes, but music will continue throughout the night until 11, and they are right back at it tomorrow. So this is a month-long festival. Today is the first weekend, and then next week it moves over to Woodbine Beach. So Bakari, Lena, it's completely free to attend. All you have to do is bring yourself here.
Yeah, hey,
Thanks for the seat, Siege. You're the best.
Yeah, I want to say thank you, but there's no umbrella. And you said it's going to rain tonight.
You know, Bakari,
so...
it's never enough for you. It's never enough.
She said it was going to rain. Well, okay. CP24, CJ Liu, thanks a lot.
Thanks, CJ. Well, today is also the first day of Summerlicious.
Yeah, more than 200 restaurants in the city are participating this year. They're offering special 3-course fixed-price menus. Lunch ranges from $20 to $55, while the price for dinner is set between $25 and $75. And Summerlicious continues until July 21st.
And next, we'll take you to Nathan Phillips Square. That is where Toronto's biggest celebration of Arab culture, art, and food kicks off tonight. In just a few minutes, actually, the Taste of the Middle East will return at 6 o'clock. The festival runs through Sunday night. It'll feature more than 60 local artists and over 100 vendors. The food is always so good here. Organizers are expecting more than 90,000 people to attend the event throughout the weekend.
Well, Canada is going to fight for a spot in the Copa America semifinals when it faces Venezuela this evening.
In their first Copa America appearance, Canada scored only 1 goal in the group stage.
Yeah, the Canadian squad will face Venezuela without winger John Buchanan, who suffered a broken tibia during Tuesday's practice. Meanwhile, Venezuela won all 3 of their Group B matches, and we had a chance to talk to TSN's Matthew Shinetti, who's in Dallas with a preview.
There is no greater opportunity for the Canadian men's team than to face the world champions again, but this time it'll be in a game that would be undeniably the biggest game in Canadian men's soccer history, a semifinal against Argentina at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Canada, although they lost 2-0 in that opening game just around 2 weeks ago, played so well against Argentina, had their chances to score. Argentina last night, I won't say they looked vulnerable because Argentina are the World Cup champions, so they're not going to look vulnerable. But Lionel Messi, who was dealing with a hamstring injury, didn't have his best game. That game against Ecuador went to a penalty shootout. He misses the penalty. And yet you look through this entire Argentina lineup, so much talent.
And Canada's match with Venezuela gets underway at 9 o'clock tonight.
It's 5:58, 26 degrees. You're watching Toronto's breaking news, CP24. It's going to be a dry weekend unless you stocked up ahead of time. But is it going to be a dry summer? The first strike in LCBO history now underway.
Thank you for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.